At our friend's engagement party, my girlfriend accidentally found out I was planning to propose that night and told me she wasn't ready to settle with someone like me. So I left the empty ring box with a note saying I wasn't ready anymore either and disappeared. Now she's been crying for days asking what it meant. My name is Tyler, and I'm 27 years old now. This story happened about 5 years ago, but I'm finally ready to share it with all of you. Fair warning, things get pretty intense by the end, but she absolutely had it coming. You might want to grab some snacks because this is going to be a long one, but I promise it's worth the read. First, let me give you some background so you can understand why this revenge was so incredibly satisfying. I was 23 when all of this went down, working as a marketing consultant for mid-sized companies. I specialized in digital campaigns and brand development. Not the most exciting job in the world, but it paid really well. I had a good salary, plus commissions, that would bump up my income nicely during strong years. I drove a BMW 340e and had a nice condo downtown in Miami with an ocean view. I had the whole package, basically. I'm not trying to show off here, just setting the scene because this becomes super important later in the story. I was dating this girl named Victoria for almost 4 years at the time. I met her at a friend's house party during Memorial Day weekend, and she was absolutely gorgeous. She had blonde hair that looked like it belonged in a shampoo commercial, piercing blue eyes, and a perfect figure. She was the kind of girl who could stop traffic just by walking down the street. Seriously, heads would turn everywhere we went together. But here's the thing I should have noticed from the very beginning. She was always super interested in what I did for work. She constantly asked about how much money I made, what kind of car I drove, where I lived, and what my family's financial situation was like. Looking back now, the red flags were everywhere, but I was 23 and thinking with the wrong head, if you know what I mean. Victoria worked part-time at some high-end fashion boutique in the fancy shopping district, making maybe $30,000 a year if she was lucky. But this girl lived like she was making serious money. She always had the newest iPhone the day it came out, designer bags that cost more than most people's rent, and expensive clothes with tags I couldn't even pronounce. She got her nails done every 2 weeks at a fancy salon and had monthly spa treatments. The works. I'm not stupid, so I knew I was paying for most of her lifestyle. But I thought that's what you do when you love someone. You want to spoil them and make them happy. Boy, was I wrong about everything. My best friend Diego always called her Victoria the Vulture, which used to really annoy me, but now I realize he was spot on. Diego is a hilarious guy who works in construction management and built his way up from nothing. He's sharp as a razor when it comes to reading people and could see right through her fake smile from day one. The guy has incredible instincts about these things. Bro, that chick is going to drain your bank account dry and then leave you for someone with a bigger wallet, he told me probably 100 times over those 4 years. Mark my words, she's just window shopping until she finds a better deal. You're like a practice boyfriend for her. I should have listened to Diego. The guy has a sixth sense about people, especially fake ones. He grew up poor with a single mom and had to work for everything since he was 15 years old. He can spot a gold digger from a mile away. His radar for that stuff is absolutely unreal. So anyway, Victoria's sister Samantha was getting married to this attorney named David who was absolutely loaded. I mean seriously, ridiculously loaded. He was a senior partner at one of those big downtown law firms, drove a Porsche 911 Turbo that cost more than most houses, and lived in a $3.02 million mansion in Coral Gables with a pool and tennis court. This guy was everything Victoria thought she deserved. The wedding was at some exclusive luxury resort that probably cost more to book than most people make in 6 years. I'd been thinking about proposing for months and months, and I'd already picked out the perfect ring after spending weeks researching and visiting jewelry stores. It was a 2.8 carat princess cut diamond in a platinum setting that cost me $18,500. Yeah, $18,500. That's more than some people's cars. I worked overtime for 9 months straight to save up for that thing. I barely went out with friends during those months. Ate packed lunches every single day, skipped vacations, sold my motorcycle, and even canceled my gym membership to save money. But I thought Victoria was worth every sacrifice. I thought we were building something real and lasting together. My plan was to propose after the wedding, back at our apartment. I had rose petals ordered from a fancy florist, about 60 candles to set up around the living room, champagne chilling in the fridge, the whole romantic movie-style setup planned out down to the minute. I had even written a 4-page speech and had been practicing it in the mirror for weeks, memorizing every word. The ring was burning a hole in my jacket pocket during the entire reception, and I kept touching it nervously every few minutes. But here's where it gets really interesting. This is where I discovered who Victoria really was. During the reception around 9:30 p.m., I overheard Victoria talking to her cousin Morgan by the dessert table near the back corner of the ballroom. I was coming back from the restroom when I heard their conversation. They didn't see me approach because there was a big floral arrangement blocking their view of me. "Oh my God, Samantha is so incredibly lucky," Victoria was saying, her voice dripping with envy. "Did you see the rock on her finger? That thing has to be at least 5 carats, maybe 6. And that house they just bought in Coral Gables? I looked it up online yesterday. $3 million freaking dollars. Can you even imagine living like that?" "What about Tyler, though?" Morgan asked, glancing around to make sure I wasn't nearby. "You guys have been together forever. Think he'll propose soon? He seems pretty serious about you." Victoria actually laughed, but not in a good way. It was a cold, calculating laugh that made my blood freeze. "Tyler's sweet and all, and he tries really hard, but he's not exactly Samantha level, you know? I mean, he does okay for a marketing guy. Makes decent money, I guess. But I'm nowhere near ready to settle for just okay when I know I could do so much better if I really tried." My blood went absolutely cold. Settle for okay? I made more money than 95% of guys our age and treated her like absolute royalty. I bought her everything she wanted and she thought I was just okay. Just something to settle for. "So what are you going to do?" Morgan asked, clearly uncomfortable with the direction of the conversation. "I honestly don't know yet," Victoria replied. "Maybe stick with him for now while I keep my options open and see what else is out there. I'm only 22. I've got plenty of time to find someone with real money. Like serious, serious money. The kind of money where I never have to work again if I don't want to." I backed away before they could see me, my hands literally shaking with rage and disbelief. Everything Diego had been warning me about for 4 years was absolutely true. I was just a placeholder, a comfortable meal ticket, until something bigger and better came along. She was using me. But here's the thing about me. I'm not the type to just roll over and take that kind of treatment. If Victoria wanted to play games and use people, I could play games too. And I was about to become very, very good at it. The bouquet toss happened about an hour after I overheard Victoria's lovely conversation with her cousin. The DJ announced it was time, and all the single ladies gathered around on the dance floor, including Victoria. She was giggling and joking with her cousins and friends, trying to look like she wasn't really trying to catch it. But I could see her positioning herself strategically, right in the sweet spot where most bouquets tend to land. Samantha, looking absolutely radiant in her $17,000 wedding dress, stood on the little stage they'd set up. She turned her back to the crowd and threw the bouquet high in the air in a perfect arc. It came down right into Victoria's waiting hands, like it was meant to be, like the universe was setting up the perfect ironic moment. Everyone started cheering and clapping enthusiastically. Samantha was taking pictures with her phone, grinning from ear to ear. Victoria's mom started crying those happy tears that mothers get at weddings, and the whole family was looking at us with huge, expectant grins, clearly anticipating some kind of romantic moment. The band even started playing a slow romantic song in the background. I was standing there about 12 feet away with a completely fake smile plastered on my face, that 18x500 ring feeling like it weighed 1,000 pounds in my pocket. The irony wasn't lost on me. Here she was catching the bouquet with everyone expecting an engagement, while she'd just been talking about how I wasn't good enough and how she was keeping her options open for someone better. That's when Victoria looked directly at me with this weird, almost smug expression on her face. Still holding the bouquet like some kind of trophy in front of everyone, her family, my family, all our friends, probably 90 people total. She said loud enough for half the ballroom to hear, "Don't get any ideas, Tyler. I'm nowhere near ready to settle for someone at your level." The entire reception went dead silent. I mean, completely, totally silent. The band literally stopped playing mid-song. You could hear a pin drop in that massive ballroom. Everyone was staring at us with their mouths hanging open. Her family, my family, all our friends, even people we didn't know. I saw my mom's face across the room, and she looked absolutely mortified and confused. My dad was clenching his jaw so hard, I thought he might actually break a tooth. Some of the older relatives looked like they'd been slapped. Diego, who was standing right next to me with a glass of wine, whispered, "Holy shit, bro," under his breath. But even his whisper seemed loud in the silence. But here's the absolutely crazy part. Victoria didn't even look embarrassed or sorry. She was actually smiling like she'd just made some clever, witty joke that everyone should appreciate. The entitlement was absolutely unreal. She actually seemed proud of herself for putting me in my place publicly. I somehow managed to keep my voice completely steady and said, "Good to know exactly where we stand, Victoria. Thanks for clearing that up." The DJ, clearly sensing the awkwardness, started playing music again. But the damage was done. People were whispering and stealing glances at us. Some of the older relatives looked genuinely scandalized. Samantha looked like she wanted to disappear into the floor from embarrassment. A few people actually got up and left their tables. The rest of the reception was pure torture for me. People kept coming up asking if I was okay, giving me those awful pity looks that make you feel even worse. My aunt pulled me aside and asked if Victoria had been under stress lately, because that outburst wasn't like her at all. Diego stuck by my side the whole time, making jokes to try to lighten the mood and distract me. But even his legendary sense of humor couldn't salvage that complete disaster. "Dude, what the hell was that about?" he asked when we finally got a moment alone by the bar. "Did she just publicly humiliate you in front of your entire family at her sister's wedding?" "Yep," I said, surprisingly calm considering the circumstances. "She sure did." "What are you going to do about it?" I looked across the room at Victoria, who was laughing and taking selfies with her friends like absolutely nothing had happened. She was showing off the bouquet to people like it was some kind of trophy she'd won. "I'm going to give her exactly what she deserves, Diego. Exactly what she's asking for." The car ride home was honestly the worst part of the entire evening. Victoria acted like absolutely nothing had happened. She was scrolling through Instagram, posting pictures from the wedding, completely oblivious to the nuclear bomb she'd just dropped on our relationship. She was even humming along to the radio. "That was so much fun," she said casually, not even looking up from her phone screen. "Samantha looked absolutely gorgeous. Did you see how expensive everything was? The flowers alone probably cost more than your car payment. That ice sculpture was insane. Her new husband really knows how to treat a woman the right way." More little digs at my finances and lifestyle. I was completely done with her at that point. "Yeah," I said, gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles were white. Really eye-opening night. Very educational. She didn't even catch the sarcasm dripping from my voice. Back at our apartment, Victoria went through her usual nighttime routine like it was any other evening. She took off her makeup with those expensive cleansing wipes, changed into one of my old college t-shirts that she'd basically claimed as her own property, and started talking about some petty drama with her coworkers at the boutique involving someone stealing someone else's sales commission. "I'm absolutely exhausted," she said, getting into our bed like nothing had changed. "But it was such a perfect, magical wedding. I can't wait until it's my turn someday to have something that beautiful." "Your turn?" I asked, testing the waters to see what she'd say. "You know, when I eventually find the right guy. Someone who can really take care of me the way I deserve to be taken care of. Someone truly successful who understands what I need." The audacity was absolutely incredible. She was literally lying in my bed, wearing my shirt in my apartment that I paid rent for, talking casually about finding someone else to take care of her properly because I apparently wasn't cutting it. "Well," I said, keeping my voice completely neutral, "I really hope you find exactly what you're looking for, Victoria." She was asleep within minutes, probably dreaming about her future rich husband. All that gold digging and scheming really wears you out, I guess. I sat there in the dark for about an hour, just watching her sleep and thinking about what Diego had been telling me for months and months. This girl had been using me from day one of our relationship. Those expensive dinners where she always mysteriously forgot her wallet, shopping trips where she'd pout until I bought her whatever she wanted, rent money I'd been covering when she conveniently came up short every single month, car payments I helped with, credit card bills I'd paid off. It was all part of her master plan to live above her means while searching for someone better. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. Not just about tonight, but about everything over the past 4 years. The way she always mysteriously forgot her wallet when we went out to eat. How she'd give me the silent treatment until I bought her things she wanted. The way she'd compare me to other guys' success right to my face. How she'd talk about her friends' boyfriends who made more money or drove nicer cars. I'd been so completely blind to what was happening. Around 3:00 a.m., I knew exactly what I had to do. A plan formed in my head perfectly. I went to the kitchen and pulled out the ring box from my jacket pocket. I sat at the kitchen table and stared at it for a long time, thinking about those 9 months of overtime, all those packed lunches instead of buying food, All the times I'd said no to hanging out with friends because I was saving every penny for this ring. All the sacrifices I'd made for someone who saw me as just temporary. Then I opened the box, took out the ring, and put it back in the fireproof safe where I keep important documents and papers. The empty ring box went right on the kitchen counter where she'd definitely see it first thing in the morning. I wrote a note on a piece of paper in my best handwriting. Found someone at my level. Hope you find someone at yours. Don't contact me. Then I started packing. This time, I wasn't just grabbing clothes for a few days. I was moving out completely and permanently. See, here's something Victoria had never bothered to find out. The apartment lease was only in my name. She'd never wanted to get added to it because paperwork is so boring and complicated, and you handle all that business stuff. I packed everything that mattered to me. Everything that was actually mine. My gaming setup that I'd built myself. All my clothes, important documents, family photos, my collection of vintage watches that my grandfather left me, my books, my tools, everything with sentimental value. I left behind all the stuff I'd bought her over the years. Designer bags, jewelry, expensive perfumes, the fancy espresso machine she just had to have, expensive skincare products, all of it. If she wanted to keep living like a rich girl, she could figure out how to pay for it herself with her part-time boutique job. I also did something a little petty, but honestly don't feel bad about it at all. I changed every single streaming service password. Netflix, Spotify, Amazon Prime, HBO Max, Disney+, Hulu. Basically every entertainment service she used daily that was tied to my credit cards and accounts. I also removed her as an authorized user on my credit cards and canceled the supplementary card I'd given her. Small victories, but satisfying ones. The best part of my plan was that I'd already been looking at a new place closer to my office for months. I just hadn't pulled the trigger because I thought Victoria and I were building a life together. Turns out that new place was available for immediate move-in. When I called the landlord at 4 a.m. and explained I needed to move ASAP, he was happy to do a quick background check for someone with my credit score and income level. By 5 a.m., I was completely finished packing. I took one last look around the apartment. Our apartment that was about to become her very expensive problem to solve alone. I left my keys right next to the empty ring box on the counter. Diego helped me move my stuff that same morning. I called him at 6 a.m. and he showed up at 7 a.m. with his pickup truck and a huge grin on his face, plus coffee and bagels. "Bro, this is honestly the most savage thing you've ever done," he said as we loaded my gaming chair into his truck. "She's going to completely lose her mind when she wakes up and realizes what happened." "That's exactly the idea," I said, feeling lighter and more free than I had in months. "What's your long-term plan now?" "Simple. Let her figure out how to live at her actual financial level instead of mine. See how long her attitude lasts when she has to pay her own bills." Victoria's first text came around noon. I could practically hear the panic through the phone. "Where are you? All your stuff is gone. What's going on?" I didn't respond. Part 1 of my plan was complete silence. Then about 25 minutes later, "What the hell is this empty box supposed to mean? Call me right now. This isn't funny." Still nothing from me. I was at my new apartment setting up my gaming system and enjoying the peace. By 1 p.m., she was calling repeatedly. I sent every single call straight to voicemail, but I saved them all because they were absolutely entertaining to listen to. The progression from confusion to anger to panic was incredible. "Tyler, what is wrong with you? You can't just disappear like this. I don't understand what that stupid note means. Call me back right now. This isn't funny anymore." The desperation in her voice was something I'd never heard before in 4 years of dating. Gone was the sweet, innocent girlfriend act. This was the real Victoria. Entitled, demanding, and absolutely furious that her comfortable meal ticket had suddenly vanished. Message 2 came about an hour later. "Tyler, I'm serious. You better call me back immediately. I don't know what kind of stupid game you think you're playing, but I'm not laughing. Where did you go? Did you seriously take all your stuff?" Message 3 came that evening. "Okay, I'm starting to get really scared. Please just call me back and tell me you're okay. We can work through whatever this is about. I promise we can fix this." Diego came over to my new place that evening with pizza and updates from his extensive network of gossipy relatives who somehow always know everything that's happening in our social circle. "Dude, you absolutely have to hear this," he said, pulling out his phone with a huge grin. "Morgan called my cousin Rosa, who called my sister Maria, who called me. The whole extended family is talking about what happened last night." "And what are they saying?" "Victoria showed up at her parents' house this morning crying hysterically, saying you abandoned her and she doesn't understand why. But get this, Samantha is absolutely furious with her because she thinks Victoria completely ruined her wedding with that bouquet comment. Her exact words to their parents were, "Victoria embarrassed our entire family with her gold digger nonsense." I almost choked on my pizza. Samantha actually said that? Apparently, she's been watching Victoria's behavior and attitude for years and was already annoyed that you were paying for everything in the relationship. When Victoria humiliated you publicly at the wedding, Samantha completely lost it. She told their parents that Victoria needed to grow up, stop using men like personal ATMs, and that she was embarrassed to be related to someone so shallow. This was even better than I'd hoped for. Victoria wasn't just losing me, she was losing her family's support and respect too. Day 2 brought even more frantic texts. "Tyler, please just talk to me. I don't have anywhere to go. Rent is due next week and I don't have nearly enough money. I'm sorry if I said something wrong at the wedding. I was just joking around with the bouquet thing. Didn't mean anything by it. You can't just leave me with no explanation. We've been together for 4 years. That has to count for something." That last one really got to me emotionally. 4 years. 4 years of paying for her lifestyle while she openly talked about trading up to someone better. 4 years of being her personal bank account while she kept her options open for a richer guy. But I stayed strong and didn't respond. Diego reminded me every single day. "She made her choice, bro. Now she gets to live with the consequences." Week 2 is when things got really interesting. Victoria had to face some harsh realities. She simply couldn't afford our apartment on her $30,000 boutique salary. Not even close. Rent alone was $2,600 a month, which was basically her entire take-home pay after taxes, leaving nothing for food, utilities, car payment, insurance, or anything else. Her texts became increasingly desperate and revealing. "Tyler, I'm literally begging you. Please help me. I can't afford this place on my own. Can we at least talk about splitting rent until I figure things out? I'll pay you back." I had to ask my parents for money. Do you know how absolutely embarrassing that is for a 22-year-old? Please just tell me exactly what I did wrong so I can fix it. I'll do anything. I'll change. Diego kept me updated on all the family drama through his network of gossipy relatives who love sharing information. Apparently, Victoria's parents told her they'd help with exactly 1 month of rent, but after that, she was completely on her own. They were deeply disappointed in how she'd treated such a nice, generous young man and thought this might be a good learning experience for their daughter. Even better news, word had gotten around their entire social circle about what happened at the wedding. Mutual friends were taking sides, and the vast majority of them were Team Tyler. Victoria was getting frozen out of group hangouts, parties, and social events. "She's becoming absolutely toxic to be around," one of our mutual friends told Diego. "All she does is complain about you and ask if anyone knows single guys with money. It's really pathetic and desperate." By week 3, Victoria had to swallow her pride completely and move back in with her parents. A 22-year-old college graduate moving back into her childhood bedroom because she couldn't afford her own life. The shame and embarrassment must have been absolutely killing her. Her social media posts became increasingly bitter and passive-aggressive. Lots of quotes about fake people, learning who your real friends are. Everything happens for a reason. She posted a selfie from her old bedroom with the caption, "Sometimes you have to take a step back to move forward. Blessed. New beginnings." The comments were mostly from her mom and a few distant relatives trying to be supportive, but the best part was yet to come, and it was going to be spectacular. Month 2 brought a development I definitely didn't see coming, but it turned out to be the most entertaining part of the whole story. Victoria started dating this guy named Brandon, who she met at some upscale cocktail lounge downtown. Brandon drove a Mercedes S-Class, wore expensive suits, carried himself like some kind of Wall Street hotshot, and threw money around like he was Jeff Bezos. At first, I'll be completely honest, I was bothered. Was she already replacing me with some genuinely rich dude? Had she actually managed to trade up like she'd always planned? Did her strategy actually work? But Diego, being the absolute genius investigator he is, did some serious social media stalking and detective work and found some very interesting information about this Brandon character. "Bro, you're absolutely not going to believe this," he said, showing up at my place with a huge grin in his laptop. "Brandon isn't rich at all, not even close. He's a wannabe day trader and crypto investor who's actually in debt up to his eyeballs. That Mercedes is leased with money he doesn't have. Those expensive clothes are all bought with credit cards. Dude's broker than broke but putting on a massive elaborate show. How do you possibly know all this? My cousin Rosa works at the bank where he got turned down for a business loan last month. Apparently, his credit score is so bad they wouldn't even give him a secured credit card. She said his debt-to-income ratio was absolutely frightening and that he owed over $95,000 on various credit cards. This was getting really, really good. Victoria started posting constantly on social media about her amazing new boyfriend and their expensive dates. Photos at fancy steakhouses, weekend trips to nice hotels, shopping sprees at high-end stores downtown. She was living it up, probably thinking she'd finally found her perfect sugar daddy who would fund her dream lifestyle. The posts were clearly designed to make me jealous and show me what I was missing. Captions like, "When he treats you like the queen you are, spoiled and blessed, finally found someone who actually knows my worth. And real men know how to spoil their woman properly." She even posted a picture of an expensive bracelet with "Some men actually know how to spoil their woman properly." For about 7 weeks, it looked like Victoria had gotten everything she'd always wanted and dreamed of. Then Brandon's entire house of cards came crashing down spectacularly, and it was absolutely beautiful to watch from a distance. Turns out when you're already maxed out on credit cards, living paycheck to paycheck, and you start dating a high-maintenance gold digger who expects expensive dinners 4 times a week, weekend trips, and shopping sprees, things go south very, very quickly. Diego got the complete inside scoop from Rosa, who heard it from multiple sources. Brandon's credit cards started getting canceled one by one. His car got repossessed from a restaurant parking lot during one of their dates. He had to move back in with his parents when his apartment lease wasn't renewed. The whole fake lifestyle collapsed in a matter of days. She literally broke up with him in the parking lot of that fancy steakhouse downtown when his card got declined for the 4th time that week, Diego told me, barely able to contain his laughter. Rosa heard it from her friend who was their server that night. Victoria threw a complete screaming scene, yelling about how he was a fraud, and she couldn't believe she wasted her time with another broke loser who lied to her. The irony was absolutely perfect and beautiful. Victoria went from me, actually successful and financially stable, to Brandon, fake successful and actually broke, back to absolutely nothing. All because she was too greedy and entitled to appreciate what she'd had. Her social media went completely dark for about 3 weeks after that disaster. When she finally posted again, it was just generic motivational quotes about staying strong through difficult times, better days are coming, everything happens for a reason. Now here's where the story gets really satisfying and exactly why I waited 5 years to tell this whole incredible tale. While Victoria was going through her downward spiral of failed relationships and mounting financial disasters, my life was getting better and better every single month. I got promoted to senior marketing consultant and started making much better money, plus bigger commission checks. I closed a massive digital campaign deal that netted me a $92,000 bonus in one payment. The real estate investments I'd been making started paying off big time with steady monthly income. I also started dating again, taking my time and being much more careful about red flags. I met this incredible woman named Jessica, who's a nurse practitioner at Children's Hospital. She makes her own money, has her own goals and ambitions, owns her own condo, and drives her own car. She treats me like a genuine partner instead of a walking ATM machine. We've been together for 3.5 amazing years now and just bought a beautiful house together in Pinecrest with a view of Biscayne Bay. Jessica is everything Victoria wasn't and never could be. Independent, kind, genuinely interested in me as a person rather than my bank account balance, supportive of my goals, and actually contributes equally to our relationship. When I told her the whole story about Victoria, she was completely shocked that anyone could be so shallow and cruel to someone they claim to love. But the real satisfaction, the moment I'd been waiting for, came just last month. I was having lunch at this nice cafe downtown, reading some marketing reports, when my phone rang. Unknown number, but I recognized the area code as local. I almost didn't answer because I get a lot of sales calls, but something told me to pick up. "Tyler, it's Victoria." I nearly dropped my sandwich. After 5 years of complete silence, she was calling me. "Victoria, this is definitely unexpected." "Yeah, I listen. I know this is really weird and awkward, but I desperately need to talk to you. Could we maybe meet for coffee or something, please? I'm really hoping you'll hear me out." The desperation in her voice was incredible, unlike anything I'd ever heard from her. This wasn't the confident, entitled girl who'd humiliated me at her sister's wedding. This was someone who sounded like life had completely beaten her down and broken her spirit. "Sure," I said, genuinely curious about what could have driven her to call me after all this time. How about that Starbucks on Lincoln Road? 1 hour? I immediately called Diego with the update. Dude, you're absolutely not going to believe this. Victoria just called me out of nowhere. No freaking way. After 5 years, what did she want? To meet for coffee. She sounded completely desperate and broken. I'm going to hear her out just for the entertainment value. Bro, be really careful. She's probably going to try to get her claws back in you somehow. Not going to happen in a million years, but I'm really curious what she wants after all this time. An hour later, I was sitting in Starbucks waiting for Victoria. When she walked through the door, I honestly barely recognized her. The designer clothes were completely gone, replaced by jeans that looked like they came from Walmart, and a sweater that had definitely seen better days. Her hair looked like she'd been cutting it herself with kitchen scissors. She'd gained probably 35 to 45 pounds and looked absolutely exhausted, like she hadn't slept properly in months. This was definitely not the glamorous gold digger who'd rejected me for not being at her level. Hi, Tyler, she said quietly, sliding into the chair across from me. Thank you so much for meeting me. I honestly wasn't sure you'd even answer my call. No problem at all. What's going on, Victoria? She took a long, shaky breath. I'll just come right out and say it. I'm in really, really bad trouble. Like the worst trouble of my life. I've been struggling ever since, well, since you left. I can't find a decent job anywhere that pays enough to live on. I'm drowning in credit card debt, and I'm about to get evicted from my apartment again. Sorry to hear that, I said, genuinely not feeling sorry for her at all. I know I messed up terribly. What I said at Samantha's wedding was horrible and cruel, and I've regretted it every single day since then. I was young and stupid and immature, and I didn't realize what I had with you. Okay, I said, waiting patiently for the inevitable ask that was coming. I was wondering, I know it's a huge thing to ask, but could you maybe help me out financially? Just a loan to get back on my feet? I swear on my life I'll pay you back every single penny with interest. And there it was. The girl who'd publicly humiliated me, who'd called me not her level, who'd used me as a meal ticket for 4 years while actively shopping for someone better, was now sitting across from me literally begging for money. I leaned back in my chair and smiled. How much money are we talking about here? Well, I owe about $14,000 in credit card debt, and my rent is $2,300 a month. Plus, I need money for food and gas and basic necessities. So maybe $20,000 total. I know it's a lot of money, but $20,000? I interrupted. That's a very interesting amount. I know it's a huge favor, but Tyler, I'm absolutely desperate. I've tried everything else. You're literally the only person I know who's doing well enough to help me out of this mess. I pulled out my phone and showed her a picture. You know what this is? She looked confused and squinted at the screen. A ring? This is the ring I was going to give you that night. The night you told everyone at your sister's wedding that I wasn't good enough for you. It cost me $18,500, almost exactly what you're asking me for right now. Her face went completely white. She looked like she might throw up. Tyler, You humiliated me in front of both our families and all our friends. You used me for 4 years while openly talking about trading up to someone with more money. You called me a placeholder to your cousin, thinking I couldn't hear you. You made me feel like garbage for not being wealthy enough for your standards. And now you want me to bail you out of your problems? Tears started streaming down her face. Please, Tyler, I know I was terrible to you. I know I don't deserve your help at all. But I'm literally begging you. I don't have anyone else to turn to. My parents won't help me anymore. I stood up slowly and looked down at her. You're absolutely right about one thing, Victoria. You don't deserve my help. You made it crystal clear that I wasn't at your level. Well, congratulations. You finally found someone who actually is at your level. I started to walk away, then turned back for the final blow. Oh, and Victoria, that ring? I gave it to Jessica when I proposed to her 8 months ago. She said yes immediately. No hesitation, no conditions, no comments about my level or whether she could do better. Funny how that works when someone actually appreciates what they have instead of always looking for something better. I left her crying in that Starbucks. Diego was waiting in the parking lot because I texted him to pick me up. I knew I'd want to celebrate after witnessing that beautiful moment of karma. How'd it go? He asked as I got in his truck, grinning. Exactly like we thought it would. She wanted money, a lot of money to fix her life. Did you give her any? I gave her exactly what she deserved. Absolutely nothing. Diego high-fived me enthusiastically. Bro, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. Justice served ice cold after 5 years. 2 weeks later, I heard through the grapevine that Victoria had to declare bankruptcy and move back across the country to live with her elderly aunt in some tiny rural town in Oklahoma, where the cost of living is basically nothing. The girl who thought she was too good for a successful marketing consultant ended up losing everything because she was too greedy and entitled to appreciate what she had. TLDR. My gold-digging ex publicly humiliated me at her sister's wedding by saying I wasn't at her level right after catching the bouquet. I had an $18,500 engagement ring in my pocket that night. Instead of proposing, I secretly moved out while she slept, leaving only an empty ring box and a note. She spiraled into financial ruin over 5 years, dated a fake wealthy guy who was actually broke, and eventually called me begging for $20,000. I told her she finally found someone at her level and walked away. She declared bankruptcy and had to move across the country to live with relatives. Sometimes karma takes its time, but when it arrives, it's absolutely perfect. What do you think? Was I too harsh? Or did she get exactly what she deserved? Have any of you ever had someone show their true colors at the worst possible moment?